Welcome to another episode of the RAG podcast. And for those of you who don't know, the RAG stands for Recruitment Agency Growth. Since early 2019, I've been interviewing the most successful and innovative recruitment owners to learn how they rose to the top of their game. In season 7, I'm going to be having raw, authentic, and insightful conversations with agency owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, people across the industry. And I want to be learning about their ambitions, what's happening behind the scenes in their agencies today, and their plans to navigate difficult market conditions. I'll be bringing you the latest and greatest recruitment stories every single week on Wednesdays at noon across multiple platforms. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the RAG podcast. On this week's show, I was joined by Anthony Kelly. And Anthony is the founder of DeepRec. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the RAG podcast. On this week's show, I was super excited to be joined by Anthony Kelly, the founder of DeepRec.ai, a AI niche recruitment agency, part of the wider Trinnovo Group. So Anthony is an Irish guy now living in the UK, specifically in Bishops Stortford, who launched his business within the wider group of Trinnovo 5 months ago in this early summer 2023. XS3, he joined the Trinnovo Group 3.5 years ago as part of the Trust in Soda brand. But upon leaving Ireland, moving to the UK, he realized he wanted to be an entrepreneur and he wanted to do it in Bishops Stortford, near where he lived, as he was due to have a baby at the start of this year. A little negotiation with the founders and the C-level execs of the Trinnovo Group, and they agreed that he could launch his own business within the portfolio as long as he wanted to build something of scale. They were talking circa 50 people in headcount, with a 2 million EBITDA as a target focus. Anthony said, yes, but I want to do it my way in an office 5 days a week in Bishops Stortford. We're not going to be in London. And they all agreed and got it off the ground. So he's now a team of 5 months in. He's got a plan to be 18 in 12 months. They're profitable. They're making significant waves from a placement perspective. And in this episode, we talk about his strategy to building the business, his approach to building something locally outside of London, how he's going to build that scale and what that will mean for him and the team in the future. If you're wanting to speak to or learn from someone who's right in the thick of the first 6 months of growth, of being a new founder, but with a vision of scale and exit and all the things that most people in our industry want, then this is an episode for you to listen to. Anthony is a charismatic, open, friendly Irish guy. I love talking to him. I'm sure you will too. So without further ado, Anthony, welcome to the RAG podcast.
Thanks, Sean. Pleasure to be here.
No worries. We've been talking about how long have we been talking about this podcast now? It's into the summer, isn't it?
I've been in your ear for some time, yeah. Something I tend to do. I mean, I listen to it. I want to be part of it.
No, I'm glad we finally got this show. We are approaching, what are we in now? The early November 2023. I always like to mention where we are because people will listen back to this at different times. So the context of what we talk about will make sense if they can look back on things. But mate, I've done you a brief introduction there. Do us a favor for the listeners' benefit. People who don't know you, tell us who are you and tell us a bit. I don't want the story of DeepRec, but give us the kind of the overview of who you are, and we'll go back in and we'll tell the story.
Yeah, sound. I mean, look, I've obviously grown up in Dublin. I don't know how many Irish people you've had on the podcast, but really, there's actually more English people in the Trinnovo office there was at one stage than Irish recruiters. But that's all gone back now. But I grew up in a place called Palmerstown, pretty much about 5-10 minutes from Dublin City. Never went to college or anything like that. Wasn't for me. I've been working 2 or 3 jobs since I've been 15. Never had the results to go to college. Just really enjoyed working more than I did enjoy putting the effort into school. Got some pretty lousy jobs in telesales. I stocked fridges in a nightclub for 6 years.
Wow. Was that part-time on top of other things?
I was part-time on top of working on a building site and working in retail on weekends. Then the telesales job, I joined as like their youngest employee. And they would have had about 200-300 employees. And then within like 4 months, I was the the team leader, and then within 9 months I was running the whole office and managing 200 people on top of all the people in the Irish office, fully remote from Philippines.
Wow.
And then I got a call up from S3. It was funny. I got someone called me for a reference for someone that was leaving my team that just was joining S3. And then they flipped me in to try and make me a candidate. And I was like, he's off his head. And when I look back now, I'm like, do you know what? That was actually dead smart.
Yeah.
I said no. And then I went for it then about 2 months later.
Were they actively looking for you as a recruiter, or they're just dealing with you as a client and were like, this guy be good?
I think they were dealing with me as a client and then just done a PTR flip. But obviously they weren't going to go hiring telesales workers for me. So they flipped me into a candidate for them. Nice rigorous interview process. Got in there and just worked my socks off for about 3 years. Quite a fast growth, well, I would say, for like S3 standards. I think it was like the quickest trainee to associate to consultant to senior, and senior to principal that S3 UK and Ireland actually had at that time.
Right.
So it was all pretty quick. To be fair, I was quite immature personally. When I look back now and I look at my skill level and what I was doing, I honestly don't even know how I was doing it, is the honest truth. I probably because you don't remember the late nights, and I would say I was just absolutely hammering home the hours as opposed to hammering home the quality. Moved to Australia. That's not on my LinkedIn. Came back in 6 weeks, went over for recruitment. Had a bad experience with a recruitment company over there.
Really? Where'd you go?
I don't want to say.
In what city though? What city?
Sydney.
Sydney, right. I was in Melbourne, wasn't I? And it was all English and Irish recruiters, really.
Yeah. I struggled to sort of settle in. Sydney would be, I would imagine, if you had that London experience, it's a little bit more, fast paced. I feel like being from Dublin, being so close to my family.
Yeah.
And the city's tiny as well in Dublin, let's be honest, right? Everything's so close. You lose that very quick. So I came back, thought I hated recruitment, joined Indeed. Then that's when I got into the German market, and AI was with all this, which was James Baker, Steve Quinn, and Mark Kelly startup in Dublin. I was their very first employee.
Hey, what, Indeed?
No, all this.
Right, who are they? I don't know all this.
They're a company there in Dublin. They do AI and service now.
I do know the name of all this.
Actually, you know Steve Quinn. He used to be the CEO of S3 USA.
Right. Yeah.
And then I was plucked out of all this by Oliver Perry, and Dave and Ash took a chance on me to join Soda. It's quite funny. At the time, they only wanted to hire 2 seniors or 2 principals, and they got them. And my interview process had taken so long due to COVID that they weren't able to get me in. And they were really taking a punt on me. They were trying so hard to want to reject me in the interview process, but they didn't. And then here we are, 3.5 years later. I'm co-founder of a brand within Trinnovo when they were trying. They wanted to say no to me because they were overstaffed at this time, and it was obviously just off the back of COVID. But
because I had Ashley Lawrence on this show in 2019, I think, pre-pandemic, and we talked about his journey, and it was pretty impressive what he'd achieved back then. And then he talked about the Dublin operation. So why did you go from, was it Aldous to Soda? Why did you move across?
It was just a couple of structural changes. Soda had given me a big indication how serious they were about doing Germany, whereas where I was, that was sort of becoming a less of a priority, more of a priority switch to the USA. Which look, I completely understand. Bigger fees, quicker payment terms, higher salaries, makes complete sense. But unfortunately, that wasn't helping me. So it was.
Did you not look at the US yourself at that point? Just flip now.
Was never, actually was never something I did think of. I quite enjoyed what I was doing. Relatively still new to doing AI in Germany, right? I was just 2 to 3 years to then change again. Granted, I had just changed to that as well, so I wasn't carrying anything.
Yeah.
But I think there was just a good opportunity to join Soda. At the time, they'd hired Adam Wag, who was doing software. I was going to do data and AI, and then they hired a good friend of mine, Ronan, who was going to do Ireland. So kind of like a three principal pronged attack. Really, like those two lads as two of the best recruiters I've ever worked with. To just get like three quality recruiters to just smash three different markets and build out teams around it was hard to say no to.
Yeah. So we'll go to that in a second. So what is your business right now? Like, just give us the overarching bird's eye view. I don't need the detail. Just how many people? You've been going for 5 months. So what do you do? And then we'll go back.
Yeah, DeepRec, I guess in short, DeepRec, deep learning recruitment. There's a little bit of nerdiness in there. One of the very first AI frameworks ever on like GitHub is called DeepRec, and it's an AI search recommendation tool. So I was like, oh, we do AI search and we recommend candidates to you. So dead nerdy, love telling candidates that, because if they're OGs in AI, they'll remember that. But our core focus is AI talent in Germany, DAC, and now the US as well. That we've got Haley and Harry on that. So total of 5. Very much vertical market.
Quickly. It was just you in the summer when I spoke to you, right?
So. It was just me for about 6 weeks, yeah. And now there's 5 of us. Unlucky not to be more, is the honest truth. But very much focused on a niche market. So like I'm still just cracking out computer vision, even though you could say the market's gone a little bit tighter. You want a bigger. Some people end up going taking a smaller slice of a bigger pie. We've buried in and doubled down and stayed hyper niche. Like we've got Harry does computer vision in the US, Haley does ML ops in the US, Diane does ML ops just in the DAC. So we're not veering away from that. And like next hires will be coming in to do like high performance computing, NLP. So definitely keeping at that inch wide, mile deep approach.
So there's 5 of you. We'll get to that in 5 months, which is quite quick, right? So you go back to when you joined the Trinnovo Group, the soda brand. What year was that again?
3.5 years ago. Is that 2020?
Yeah. So pandemic time, and they've identified, like, why, if they're already overstaffed in Ireland, why are they hiring you? Obviously you want good recruiters, but what was their vision for bringing the 3 of you in at the time?
They actually, as I said, they just wanted the 2, and they'd already hired the 2 lads,
right?
And they just, after my interview, they just said they had to take a punt. I think it was Dave or Ash said we have to give this kid a shot to see if he's talking shit, because that was a good interview.
And what do you think? You mentioned that you'd not been to university. You weren't. You were more of a worker than someone who thrived on education. Why do you think sales and recruitment at a grassroots level worked for you?
I have a very simple reason for this. Is because when I got a job in sales, I just worked really hard to be really good at it. Really enjoyed it. I've always enjoyed talking, but I've always tried to be really good at sales and recruitment, because when I was doing really bad at skill from 15 onwards, I was like, I'm gonna end up working in McDonald's forever. So it was I don't know, you can say fear motivated me, because that would have been like a massive, it would have been really sad, right? So I had to just work my hardest to make sure that wasn't where it was going to be. Yeah, that was it. Like for me,
You think naturally talking was always a skill you had, so it was about.
Yeah.
I think it's the same for me, to be honest. Though, if I go back to Australia when I started, I knew nothing. I didn't know what I was talking about. I was doing IT recruitment. I'd only owned a laptop for about a year before. This Indian bloke's trying to teach me about IT applications versus infrastructure. I just didn't know what he was talking. I couldn't get my head around it. But put me on the phone and I was all right. I was talking. I was communicating. I was getting on with people. I didn't really know what they were saying at that point, but the raw skills were there. And I remember they were saying, like, when you get your head around what people are saying, you're going to be all right here.
Yeah.
So there's certain people who don't have that. Like, they come in and they struggle with the conversational bit. Like, I never struggled with that. And then the working hard bit is just doing more of that, isn't it? Like, it's quite straightforward, really.
Yeah, I think to a certain level, but you have to work harder to reach that level and to reach those minimums, right? I think I was the sort of person that if, like, joining S3, everyone knows, very KPI driven environment. It was kind of a case where if they said you have to hit 6 CVs this week, if I was like on 1 by like Tuesday, it was like I would have no problem staying 8 till 9, 2 or 3 more days a week until it happened. So it wasn't a case of these KPIs are nice to have for me. I took them quite personally as well. And at the time, not realizing that that's actually developing some skills that you take through with you, like through your recruitment career forever.
So would you say that's part of you now, that old KPI management? Is that how you lead your team? It's like black and white, got to do this.
So where I would say is I do have like work ethic as like one of our key principles, but I have a work ethic is not that we're going to be the hardest working recruitment team ever, but we're going to be one of the highest quality recruitment teams ever. Because I now understand there's such a thing called a busy fool.
Yeah.
And I was definitely spinning way too many plates. And this is not even just as like a trainee, right up to senior or principal level. You know, I didn't have the quality level in me to be able to reduce that amount of time I had to put in.
What sort of things do you think you were doing that were wasting your time, that were looking back on?
If something very simple, I look back and I remember for like 6 months, my interview to placement ratio was 16 forced interviews to 1 deal. During that time, I made like 12 placements. That's like over 6 months. I was managing 40 first round interviews at any given month, and I wasn't in a high volume market. Like, it just wasn't the markets.
But they were getting interviews. If they were getting interviews, they couldn't have been that bad.
Little things like then, like I was cherry picking, and I never had interview preparation techniques. I never had interview debrief techniques. It's a lot of the time I was able to just get one-off interviews at clients that might not sign terms. So it would then turn out to be a low quality interview that would never even generate into further business. So like all these little things, you could call it like the recruitment control piece, the control of the process piece, terrible. And yeah, I mean, that alone was causing me to have to find double the amount of CVs a month to just hit that one deal.
When did you realize, and how did you realize this was a problem and fix it?
Yeah, I'd say I was in about 16, 18 months in. And bearing in mind, I had a very successful first 18 months. You know, I think I'd done my first placement in my 4th or 5th week. And it was a decent sized fee. And I'd been promoted twice, maybe even 3 times by like the 18 months. So even then, like the volume I was doing was absolutely crazy. And then it was just, you know, through speaking to other people in S3, I was, as you can imagine, how I've been annoying you since the summer. Imagine if you sit in the same office as me, how bad I'm going to be at asking you questions. This is going on. My candidates keep saying this. And then I think, like, you know, after like a couple of people just turning around, I think I know where you're kind of getting it wrong here. And then it's like the control piece. So it was adding a bit more rigor and a process to when you qualify a candidate. You set an expectation of a preparation interview, of a debrief interview. You're starting doing that with your clients. Your clients who says, oh, we just want to interview this candidate. You're then trying to control the process and get terms out of it like a lot quicker. And from like my 18th month onwards, I brought that 16-1 interview to placement ratio down to about 4-1.
Yeah.
So I was doing 3.5 times more deals, like instantly, and that was from then. Like for the next 18 months, I was fighting amongst the top of everyone in S3 UK and Ireland. and there's people who are all in the business in their established markets for 5-6+ years on perm. So it was definitely, if I was to say what was the biggest turning point, it's again seems like some of the most basic things ever to some people, but
it's the industry's basic though. It's the industry that's all basic. It's all about basics. So you join this. I'm interested from Soda onwards, right? You've got this. You said they only really needed 2. They interviewed 2 good uns. They hired him. They got you in the door as part of that process, and they were like, "Well, we need this guy. I'll give him a run." So tell me what happened next. So you go and you sit with these 2 excellent recruiters.
Yeah.
How did the 3 of you crack on?
So Ronan was based in Ireland with me. Adam Wag was based in Manchester. He was doing software. So he was doing software Germany. Ronan was doing software Ireland. And then one of Soda's key pillars is obviously we've software, DevOps, design, data. I was like, great, give me the data piece. That's where my experience was. So we were definitely a complementary hire. I guess if you could say it was a luxury hire, if anything, but definitely not needed, Came in, never done data before. So it was just a case, I think for the first 2 weeks, I didn't even pick up the phone. I can imagine they really thought I was going to flop then. But I spent the first 2 weeks mapping out all the companies who I wanted to work with. I also told them when I was going to go from doing data, I was going to swap to just doing computer vision because I wanted to niche down. And they're like, "What the hell is computer vision?" So from then on in, it just went well. I think it took me 3 months to make a placement. Hired a lad at 3 months, hired another like 2 or 3, and then managed to get I got this like really good core team in for 9 months. By like month 9, there was like 4 or 5 of us. I'd been sales team lead then, and then we just went on like this like 20-month absolutely killing streak where I think between 5 of us there was a 12-month period where our NFI for like the 12-month period was like 2.1 million or like 1.8 at 2.1 over 12 months, which was crazy. I'd done 600. The lad, I'd done about 700. The lad underneath me, who was actually my best mate, who I brought over from all this, he'd done about 550. And then everyone else was like chipping in with like 250, 300 plus.
What was life like outside of the detail of doing the work? When your team are doing circa 2 million between 5, how did that make you feel? And what as a result, how did you guys behave? What else did you get up to as when things are going so well?
We had we were all based in Ireland, so we created this sort of persona, this brand about ourselves, called ourselves Team Cream. Guinness, obviously, cream, and with Guinness, the cream always rises to the top, and we always said because we're always top. So it was like that. I don't know. I just started doing like random stuff, getting like everyone matching merch. We were always making all like the super incentives, always making the lunch clubs. So like all that sort of stuff, like how to keep people engaged, was actually kind of happen organically as well, I'm
interrupting today's episode to give you a message from our brand new sponsor. Now, this company are called Untapped, and everyone knows that Hoxo. Through this podcast, I've explained that we've built our team internationally, heavily in South Africa, okay? And I get questions all the time from clients and people who listen to the show, like, how have you done it? What was the process, etc.? Well, I've partnered with a business that can ultimately reveal it all, share it all, and help you do the same, right? Because look, it's been a tricky year for the sector, and many of people through uncertain times have had to streamline operations. However, accessing low-cost resources internationally has proven to be a bit of a cheat code for some people, including Hoxo. But anyone who's tried it, like us, it's very difficult. A lot of work, process to get it right. So this company, Untapped, are one of the hottest companies in the market. They've helped Hoxo, they're helping our clients. And they specifically look at companies in the UK, US, Middle East, and Australia transition to using remote individuals and building full offshore sourcing and recruitment solutions. So they source talent pools from places like South Africa and the Philippines. And we're talking about experienced talent here. We're not talking about graduates with no experience. This is like people with 3 to 5 years recruitment experience, and integrate them into your UK team, okay? So they work remotely but plug into your UK team. They put around 3,000 candidates per month through an intense 4-stage interview and online testing process to find the top 1% or 30 people and secure these people for work with recruitment agencies like yourself. All candidates are benchmarked against UK competency frameworks and the way in which you would hire in the UK. So we're not talking about cheap for the sake of being cheap. We're talking about international, experienced people just living in lower cost locations. So it's a really simple process. If you want to work with these guys, you pay a deposit to kick off their search. They then provide a candidate shortlist in 14 days. And then you can put people through your own process to hire them permanently, or there's a freelance option. So if you just want to try before you buy, they can employ them. You pay a daily rate and it's a freelance option. Untapped are totally transparent with all the salaries and fees. But, we're talking about you'll still pay about 70% less than a UK equivalent in that role. So it's a no-brainer to complement your existing team, to handle surplus demand and ease cost pressures. If you're not using this to rip up your business and rebuild it with global resources, then you're probably going to fall behind eventually. So due to demand and capacity, they're only operating on a waiting list right now. So if you want to be part of their waiting list, go to www.tryuntapped.com. Okay, www.tryuntapped.com and check out their information. Make sure you say that you listen to the RAG podcast, because they'll do you a very special deal as well. Right, go and check them out. Back to the show. But you created a little culture within your own 5-man environment that you against everyone else, basically.
It was fun.
Yeah, we were similar. When I had a contract team in Vanquish years ago, we were similar. We didn't give ourselves a name, but we used to make a lot of noise. And when the deal board when someone would go up and write a deal, we'd be banging the table.
Yeah.
There was just an arrogance to my team, I think, that came from me being the top biller, and then them all started doing well, and I can relate to it. But there's actually also something really special about a time where everyone is earning good money, because most recruitment teams have 1 or 2 good earners, a load of average recruiters, and some new people that are not making anything, and it's full of people looking at others going, I want to be like you in the future. Whereas if you get a team that are all experiencing it at the same time, how would you describe how that is?
If I was to say easy, but I know that's ridiculous, because there was obviously that graft where there was 2 weeks where I was literally just doing data admin, right? It took me 3 months to make a placement. It took me, by 6 months, I'd only done 50 grand, and I was like, this isn't good enough. And then after month 9, we'd managed to assemble, I don't know, the Avengers.
Yeah.
And it just went really well from there. But a lot of the stuff that I would have put down the success to would have been very strict data KPIs, who we're adding, why we're adding them, that every piece of data or every candidate call could have been used as information. So I think the fundamentals that were built in underneath that made it easy. Good rigor in that I'd set a structure that every week everyone was doing the exact same actions. There wasn't a whole lot in that. Granted, again, I know I'll say this because it might never happen again, but there was just this period where nothing was going wrong. There wasn't dropouts. There was almost every time we were pitching a client, 80% of the time they were signing terms with us. It was just a good window for us. Granted, that's everyone knows that was when everyone was killing it, right?
Oh, it was a good time in recruitment.
21,
22, without a doubt. That was a great time, but you still got to go and do it, right? What? How did the other 2 guys get on that started their own teams alongside you?
Both similarly successful at the same time, yeah. But if NFI per head, wouldn't have been at the same levels. But Waggy went on to have his team up to 11 or 12. That was purely down to massive volume of jobs. And then Ronan had brought the Dublin team up to about 5 or 6.
Right. And did you maintain a relationship with those 2 that was at a different level, where you share ideas and support each other? And
yeah. Well, we all joined the our team lead training program together, and then also our business manager training program together. But also, Ronan's from Palmerstown, same as me. So we knew each other we knew each other from IDG, put it that way.
Right. Is that your first job, call center job?
Telesales job, yeah.
So when did you know you were going to be the founder or co-founder of a business within the portfolio at Trinnovo?
Probably January this year, to be fair. But I can't hold, like, the lads could never hold it against me. I interviewed and said I wanted to be an entrepreneur in recruitment, right? Maybe it's coming from S3. Let's be honest, the S3 mafia is probably the strongest recruitment mafia out there. So many people leave S3 and go on to be founders of a lot of successfuls.
The S3 alumni have opened up some of the best firms, without a doubt.
Yeah, so maybe it was looking at that. That's where that hunger came from, that appetite. Joining all this then, which is an S3 alumni company as well, to then coming into to Trinnovo, I was like, yeah, do you know what? I've worked with some of these people. I've, at the time, commercially, no idea. But, sales-wise, I was like, I've outbilled them. I can definitely do this. Not realizing that. But, quite a personal decision, to be fair, in January. So, I'd moved from Enfield up to Bishops Stortford. Wanted to be closer to the airport, started a family.
So when did you come to England? Because you were in Ireland when you started off at Trinnovo, right?
Yeah. Ireland. I came to Ireland about to today must be about 2.5 years ago. So about a year in, let's say. Yeah, let's say about a year into Soda.
Why?
Work opportunity.
You're already recruiting internationally anyway. Like, is it any different being in England or Dublin? Or?
I had half a team in Dublin. I had half a team in the UK.
Right.
I met Hayley, and that's sort of what. Yeah, let's say that helped.
Was she English?
Yeah.
So you swung yourself over to London. Were you working in central London then?
Yeah, I think we were in Holborn at the time. Yeah,
I've been in that office. So then, all right. So then it gets to the start of the year, and you're like, "What you thinking? I've got to be a founder at some point soon."
I was already thinking it, to be fair, throughout points at last year. And then I had the conversation with the lads. I spent the first month coming back, let's say like February and stuff like that. Seemed pretty difficult to do that from Bishops Stortford into now Farringdon. It's a long commute. Having a less than 4 week, 6-week-old baby 2-3 times a week. And it was just really hard. I don't think I was able to do it. It was also expensive. I think it was £200 a week just on trains. Like, wow. that was nuts.
You turn around and think, right, well, I'm gonna have to start leave and quit and set my own thing up.
It was a bit more of an open conversation with the lads. They'd asked me for the returning to work, right? I had a 4-week call, return to work. What's your return been like with Dave and Ash? And I told them how difficult I was finding it. Not the work itself, but actually the commercials and the logistics of what my job was now. Not their fault either, right? They didn't force me to move from Enfield to Bishops Stortford. So again, really hard to try and hold them accountable. But Ash just said, it was like, look, it's like, do something in with us. Make yourself accountable. Build a business. Has to be like, build a business where you're looking to have 50 employees, 2 million EBITDA in 2 million. If you can agree to that, like if that's what your plan is for building something to scale, I was like, we'll back you. I was like, yeah, but it has to be in Bishops Stortford. He goes, yeah, we're in.
So you're like, I am not commuting. That's the number one thing. I'm not commuting.
I go in for board meetings once a month.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was how it was. So yeah, definitely. Like the story of Bishops, the story of DeepRec and Bishops Stortford is we're not here to be a lifestyle business. We're definitely here to scale. I often call it, like, the London scale up recruitment companies where they've got cash injections, they're ready to build. But we're in Bishops Stortford. We're not doing that in Farringdon.
Yeah, well, the thing is, though, I know people who've done. I've got a client in Canterbury, Arto, flying, and they they dominate the kind of talent pool of Canterbury. Then you've got the guys at Edison Smart who are out in Basingstoke, and they're dominating the talent pool in Basingstoke. And I think there's something to be said about that strategy, because in London, you've got 9,000 recruitment firms in the city. Yeah, there's loads of experienced recruiters banging around, but you are competing in a world where you're just another firm.
Yeah.
Whereas if you can position yourself in an out-of-town location where people can commute to London, but they've also got a choice to not, and still earn London money, and get the commission and the career progression. There's, like I say, for every one person that wants to go to London is like, fuck it, I still want to go to London. There's people that will be like, no, I'll happily do my job on my doorstep. So talk me through that journey then of this year, planning and then launching in Bishops Stortford. What did you have to actually do?
Is it okay if I say not a lot? Like, I worked out my notice with Soda as people would, but during that notice period, we were actively building DeepRec on the back end, setting up company's house. I was able to access into the Trinnovo suite of shared services, everything. Like, I was able to work with Rachel Gallagher for TA. I was able to work with Helena from marketing so that we could have our website up and running, access to our content writer who's doing all my bios, who's getting all our stuff ready, our marketing team to get my blogs ready, changing over all our licenses on LinkedIn. We've got Helen Foreman and Saskia. So, like, in reality, we got Sean, our financial controller, who's been like doing all that stuff and dealing with getting us VAT registered. So in terms of like what my focus was come out of the gates quick. Like they were able to take away everything that I was inexperienced at and had no expertise
you had to find a
in.
location in Bishops Stortford and start thinking about a recruitment plan, I suppose. That was your main plan.
That was it. Build a sales strategy. Like I spent months just creating like a new standard operating model, remapping out markets, making sure that we're vertically aligned with Soda so that we're not competitively aligned.
Because I was thinking that, like, firstly, how did they take it when you handed the notice into Soda or work? Did everyone know what you were doing? It wasn't like they thought you were leaving, or did everyone knew what you were going to do?
Yeah, to be fair, I didn't even hand in my notice. I never got to there. It was more of I respected the lads working there 3 years. Just told them how I was feeling.
Though, when you were thinking, right, because you're in a team of people at Soda, did everyone know you're working, but to start a new brand within the company? They knew
yes. So I think it kind of became news about 4 weeks to the time. I had a 3-month notice. Obviously, takes a lot of time to get this stuff all built up in the back end. But yeah, they'd all known. Gone down a different approach though. So I wasn't like taking my existing team and stuff like that.
No.
We want, again, it's a little bit different to modern day, right? We're in Bishops Stortford. We expect people in the office 4 and 5 days a week. It's one of our benefits. I call it a benefit.
What about the team though? So if you've built a team doing data and AI for Soda and they're all still in the office and you're not taking them with you, have you not created a competitor? Did they all have to change their niche because of you?
Yeah, so it just became that, like, Michelle was the one who was the only one doing an AI market left. So DeepRec is AI, not AI and data, let's say.
Right.
So it just left Michelle. And initially I was launching with my computer vision background brand. I was like, yeah, computer vision, ML ops. Michelle does NLP in Germany. Let's leave her at that. And then now I'm like, my focus is let's do NLP in the US. How I completely flipped on that one. Right. So I wanted to put like our growth strategy into places like the US, where if you make 2 placements in your first 6 months, you're absolutely creaming it up in terms of like NFI cost per head, sunken cost investment per new hire and stuff. So that's it. I wasn't worried about competing with people in the UK or in Germany. As long as I got to stick at my computer vision is not always going to be a steady earner. But yeah, we're developing out these other areas.
I just nearly knocked my computer over there. Is that low shell you mentioned still with the business then and still doing?
No, she's moved on. She moved on.
Probably made life
She
easier then.
definitely made it a lot easier. Took all the conflicting out of it. She bought a house last year, and it's closer to Bristol than it is to London, I think. So last year, 2022, we had 1 remote day per week. Fine. 2023, we had 2 remote days. Oh, sorry, 1 office day per week, and then that was last year. And then 2023, 3 office days per week. So culturally, that didn't align for what she was looking for then.
And there's a lot of people that we've talked about quite a lot. There's a lot of people at your age, my age, whatever, that work for firms, probably got on really well with the remote working because of the setup in life, and then coming back to the office was just going to be difficult.
Yeah.
And you've done it the other way. You've going to the office going to an office ain't a problem. It's just going to London. It's all set up in. So what was the initial office? I remember when we first spoke, I think you just signed the contract or whatever. What was your first, or what is your office in Bishops Stortford like?
Yeah, I mean, we get new desks coming at some point today. We'll have 15 desks, 15 chairs coming by the end of the week. At the moment, there's 6 desks, 6 chairs. Got our own kitchen. We'll be having a breakout area. This is our podcast room. This is going to look a lot better really soon. But at the moment it's all fit for purpose. Is it a winner's environment yet? No. But will it be this side of Christmas? Absolutely. We're now putting that investment into it because we need to be hiring
a winner's environment.
I mean, you're just going to be completely ergonomically set up, 2 screens. It sounds silly, but like coffee machines, breakout areas, somewhere for people to eat their lunch so that they're not eating their lunch at the desk. So these sort of things that we have right now, if you take your lunch in, you eat it at your desk because we don't have that there. We want an area for like standing desks. We want it just to make it as comfortable as possible for everyone. Make sure that it's all not soundproofed, but like there's no echo of other people in the room. So all these things I want to take into consideration.
Pre-COVID, we just got on with picking up the phone around everyone. Whereas, I mean, I've never had to go back to an office environment, so I don't know what it's like. But if you're used to then running Zoom calls, Teams calls, being really like in the moment with people, and then you've suddenly got a room full of people doing the same thing. Is it about having better headsets and better?
Yeah. Needs to be a bit of that. We've had some challenges with it in the Trinnovo office, where you come in for like a battle of the brands, which will be a sales day. It's like the Wild West. You get up to go to the toilet and someone's in your seat making a video call on their laptop, but you always take it aside just because it's everyone in, right? And you've come from an environment, as we said, rotations of what brands are in on what days. And then all of a sudden everyone comes in and it's just absolutely nuts. The sound can be quite difficult.
Really?
Yeah.
It sounds it. Yeah. I've said this loads of times at Oxford. We've never had any of them problems because we just went remote and we stuck remote. We never ever went back. So it's like, I'm always interested to know how people get on with it. So talk us through the strategy then, and how did it go? So when we first spoke, you were on your own, you're kicking it off, and then you're now at 5. So talk us through chronologically what you've done.
Yeah, so we've been at that. We've got a virtual resource assistant who's actually there to help me basically source some of the jobs that I'm working on. I don't want to spread myself too thin, right? If I'm bogged down on resource and roles, I'm not there to be involved in BD. I'm not there to be involved in strategy. So I've taken a portion of that away so I can keep myself focused on high value activities. Next year, where we want to be going in is we want to be hiring ahead of contracts. We want to equally grow out as fast a contract team.
Okay.
Across the DACH regions and the USA. And I mean, we've taken all the steps we possibly can for that. We've got a SECO trading license for Switzerland. We've got a GmbH for Germany and a W2 license to trade in the USA, so that we've got the framework there. We just need to get the right person who's gonna really send that on its way. Might be out of this office even before the end of next year is the truth. I think hitting growth trajectory, we maybe max this out at 16, and by this time next year, like if everything goes as well as it has so far, we'll be at 18, and that'll be like an even split between perm contract, USA, Germany, all just in sections of AI. And then if we get a new office then for 2025, and we can ramp that up to about 40 people by the end of the year, I think it's really.
Talk me through the recruitment strategy in Bishops Stortford, though. Like, so you've gone after the. I remember you were talking to me about some of the people you interviewed who were just pretty raw, right? They weren't. I don't think you went straight after experienced recruiters, did you, at the beginning?
No, I got one guy. I got one guy who's experienced. He came from Robert Walters.
Right.
So it was definitely helpful. In terms of a recruitment strategy, we'll always take someone who's experienced, right? We know where we are, as long as they're willing to commit to our vision, our mission, want to be part of a high performance sales environment in the office 4 to 5 days a week. That's fine. And I feel like we've got enough surrounding areas there that we can get some people, but we're not obviously open to the whole market. And we're also not willing to bend over backwards for someone who's experienced, no matter how good they are.
Right.
So that's like the experience strategy. We will just speak and see how everyone's doing. The trainees, this is something where I think, we have to excel. We have to be exceptional at this. We have to be exceptional at creating in-house talent and taking them through our academy scheme, our academy program. So where we got them, it was inexperienced people, have some form of a sales background like most people do, right? Me personally, I would probably struggle to take someone directly out of college, just because it's almost even a level or two raw. So, ex-car salesmen, insurance sales was the two hires that we've made. But as part of our process to get in, it's like an interview with me. You do a psychometric test, you do an interview with Rachel, and then you get brought in for a whole day against all the other potential graduates as well. So a graduate hiring day, and in that day it's like a 6-8 hour day. Like the two guys we hired them, offered them on the spot. They were in here at 9 o'clock and they left at 5:30. Right. So it's in the morning. It's introduce yourself to everyone in the room. It's a couple of elevator pitches of DeepRec, hot air balloon debates, and then there's like a 2-hour window where they just cold call.
Right.
Cold call all candidates, candidate regens, again, just to see how willing they are to do the activity that we expect them to be doing. And that's how we get our graduates. And then within that, we have the 12-week Trinnovo Academy.
How do you find people, though, in that first instance, picking up a cold call when they're on an interview? Have you had people who say, I just don't want to do it? Like, I'd rather not.
We haven't. We've set the expectation. Yes, we have dropouts the day of or the day before, but that's fine. Yeah. Probably weren't going to be the top performers on the day anyway.
No.
So then we've got the Trinnovo Academy, which Alex Wilshire and Misha now do. It's been great. That goes on for 12 weeks. Lots of I think where DeepRec can be different is we're in the office all the time, right? It's very hard to find a London business where you can have your leader at hand 5 days a week, sitting one desk or two desks across from you. So we're there for that. Very much interactive training. I don't want to say like micromanaging, but like we're setting up their days of what they need to do, how they need to do it, and then letting them run with it. But also a lot of those days I'll do the same actions and the same tasks at them so they can see it in work and they can see how it actually flows.
Yeah, I mean, I can relate. I mean, that's how we ran our business back in the day, right? So I know exactly how you're setting it up.
I've gone back. I've gone backwards. I've set up my training how I was trained.
Yeah, and it makes sense. If you're going to do 5 days a week in an office, you can do it. How are you doing this training academy though? If it's Trinnovo resources and they're not 5 days a week in Bishops Stortford, are you sending your team into London or are they doing it remotely? Like how
So what it was is the first 5 days was London based, and then it's the Tuesday. Every Tuesday they go into London.
Right.
And that's
gives you a bit of breathing space on that day as well.
Yeah. They do a morning session, and then in the afternoon they apply the training, and it gives them an opportunity then I mean, look, we are a startup, but it gives them an opportunity to feel part of something bigger, right? And they feel a little bit more connected to the other trainees. Have a bit of a night out then as well while they're in London most of the time.
And how many people have Trinnovo got across the brands now?
Definitely be. I mean, sales consultants now, since the BioTalent exit, would be about 70, 75, I think.
Right. Well, let's talk about that. I mean, you literally announced it to me pre-show. I've interviewed James Cox on the show when he was the CEO of Trinnovo, and I've had Ashley Lawrence before he finished as CEO of Trinnovo. But I wasn't aware that the BioTalent brand had actually been sold, right? So tell us a little bit more about what's going on there.
Yeah, so they've been sold to Investigo. For us as a business, it was a bit more of a strategic alignment. You know, we Trinnovo wanted more collaborative brands. It wasn't an intention that DeepRec was going to set up and replace BioTalent. We were actually coming in anyway. But now, as a result of them going out, to be fair, I'm a massive winner off it. Anyone left is a massive winner off it. We've got that sort of money now to reinvest back into the business, for us to put into the Trinnovo Academy, to hiring graduates, to getting an office kitted out. So like Trinnovo London are even moving into a new office in January. So that'll be Soda and Broadgate in London. So just to sort of reset that up, realign and confirm that, you know, there's going to be less competitive, more collaboration now between us.
Because they were pharmaceutical bio, right? So they were slightly outside, and the client spread of the other brands didn't necessarily all work together. So they were kind of doing their own thing anyway.
Yeah, and I guess where we're going to come in, which I guess kind of keeps us in I'm going to say the sexy area of pharmaceuticals and life sciences, is a lot of drug research, a lot of robotics, a lot of all that nice like pharmaceutical or health tech, med tech innovations are actually happening in the areas that we're covering of like computer vision, NLP, and robotics. So we still have access to this really cool market, but it's also the area of the pharmaceutical market that would actually hire software engineers, embedded engineers, robotics engineers. So again, if we win a customer for that, it comes back in and should go full circle around Trust in Soda and possibly even Broadgate then as well.
Our trusted partner, Recruit Hub, helps new founders launch their own recruitment businesses in the UK, US, and the UAE. The community is growing rapidly with over 70 founders on the Recruit Hub platform right now. Everything you need to launch your own recruitment business with ease. You receive 100% of the fees you bill. You own full commercial control of your business and increase its value. You get cutting-edge tech stack from ATS to sales automation. There's no admin. Handle everything from community registration to contracts to finance and support. There's no setup costs on the platform, no recurring fixed costs, and no surprise fees. If you're thinking of taking the next step in your career and want to discuss your business idea, please book a confidential chat with Recruit Hub team or learn more here. www.recruit-hub.com/UK-awareness. Okay, let's get back to the show. So as a business, strategically, it's a great move. They've, you know, like I say, you've sold, made money. How many people were in that brand when they went?
Off the top of my head, I think it was about 45, 46.
Okay, that's quite a big move, isn't it? Like one day they're in the office, the next they're not. Like so they then.
And that's how it was.
Yeah. Wow, how did it feel culturally then? Just being left when they're all no longer around.
The office was a weird shape before anyway. It was a V, and it was Broadgate Soda on one side and BioTalent on another. Again, because Broadgate Soda strategically are better aligned, makes sense. And then they just weren't there. So of course they were missed. Office was quieter. But then again, like that's where that new office, new space coming into January is lined up for, so that shouldn't feel that. You should feel more aligned to DeepRec, Soda, Broadgate then.
So obviously you got 5 people, including you, is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
You and one other experienced recruiter. So 3 rookies and you and an experienced recruiter.
No. So Haley will be at this about 12 years as well, co-founder.
Right, so there's of the 5, there's 3 recruiters and 2 rookies. Is that right?
Yeah.
So billings wise, like NFI, how are you projected to be finishing the year, starting off in early summer?
I would say, are we talking booked or billed?
Just a whiteboard. Deal's done.
Deals done. I would say NFI we'd be looking at minimum about £220 sterling.
Yeah.
Now, could all change. Of a big L pitch this afternoon, which will be for it'll be a 6-figure pitch. So that would be like if I'm expecting on the lowest end, that's where we'd be.
Right.
Pure
Right.
NFI.
200 to 300, like say in 7 months or whatever, 8 months. It's a great start. Plus with the backing of everyone else. Plus you're out of town. You're doing it in a different way than other people are supposed to doing it. And then next year you want to get to, like say, 16 to 18 people by the end of the year.
Yeah, that's where I'm really going to be excited. You know, with our office costs hitting critical mass in this office, getting that what I call to be a high performance sales environment. Right, we've got 14 people all doing like a sales 90-minute 2-hour call-in session all at once, walking around in circles with their Bluetooth headsets on. Those are the things that I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, and you mentioned at the beginning of the journey of building the business and negotiating with the guys, they're very clear 2 million EBIT. What tell me what was that about? Like what's this vision that you've got to try and get to 2 million EBIT for? I mean, I get it, but what does that make you part of, and what does that mean for you and the team?
It's not the vision. It's that you know, we're very clear in Trinnovo that, you know, we want to be building a rocket ship. We don't throw out some spam phrases here, you know, we don't take passengers and stuff like that. But like that was actually Lawrence to me. It was like, we're not going to put you in charge or build a brand for you or support you or back you unless this is what you're telling us you're going for and what your target is.
So headcount and EBIT.
Headcount and EBIT, regardless of headcount, EBIT's the main target, right? I think when we've looked it up, we given like if we put an office out Bishops Stortford at critical mass, we could actually achieve that EBIT with the help of virtual assistants, probably with like 42 consultants in reality, but broad number 50. Let's say we get some non-sales heads in.
And when do you want to? Have you got a deadline? What year you want to get to that? Obviously, I'm not holding you to anything. It's a vision. But what have you written down as to when you'll be there?
We did say 2027 is the honest truth, but that was actually before the BioTalent exit. So we now have an opportunity to invest harder, is the honest truth, and look to maybe try and achieve that within a 3.5 year period.
And what does that mean for you? Is that then an event that means you swan off, or does it mean you go again? Like what I guess, where do you see yourself at that point?
Yeah, I mean, I'm yet to be sold on that, but like what we're actually going to be looking to do in 2024 might actually be where my long-term future holds. Is and when I say long-term future, I mean, you know, we can do an MBO with the existing team here, create generational wealth with some of these people that have been back in DeepRec on the journey for that time. But in 2024, we're going to launch DeepRec.VC, and we're actually going to purposely trade at net neutral profits for the next 2 years, and reinvest all of our profits back into pre-seed and seed investments of deep tech and AI companies. Right. So that's where, like, if anything happens and I'm like, where do I go? I'm like, yeah, I don't see myself not being part of the business, but I would probably be making different types of plays within. So
what you're trying to do is effectively fuel your own client base in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, so
that's the show. It's like this show for me. I'm not creating. I am effectively, without putting money in, I'm educating and advising people to start recruitment firms, which, you know, the amount of people who've listened and gone, Sean, without the rag, I wouldn't have started my business. And now we're doing, you know, $1 million a year, whatever. It's incredible. But they also do turn around and end up being a lot of clients of mine. So you are laying foundations for the future effectively by doing things. I mean, I think that's amazing. So all the profit of the business goes into that, gets invested in a tax efficient way. I imagine
You caught me.
Yeah,
Well, it's that aside, but I moved to Bishops Stortford, bought my house. I've got I don't have any large expenses coming up. I don't have to, like, my salary is what it is. Like, I don't take a commission, of course. Like, I don't need any, unless I break my leg and can't work. Like, I don't need more money than what my salary covers, and I think that's what's important. So I want to reinvest into the business. I want to do something that's like pretty amazing. I love when I call a co-founder and they're like, "We're not interested." Oh, I also do angel investments. I also do. At first it was I also do podcasts. I also do events, and now it's like I also do investments. So it's constantly having a hook. But it definitely is going to feed into the DeepRec brand. Like, we do want to be that place where there's something there for all founders to take them to our websites to then see how good our business is. But I mean, how many clients are just going to randomly wind up on your website? Not a lot. But if you start thinking of, like, I don't want to say like hooks and stuff like that, but we do want people to know who we are when they're super early, pre-seed or seed, get our seat at the table. Maybe we're then getting involved with getting rid of our ticket or getting rid of our piece at a later ticket stage. But then we're meeting with larger deep tech VCs and they're like, "Oh yeah, you guys have a good mission." And then it's hopefully going to feed out from there. But yeah, that's where we're going to start off.
It's really clever. It's really clever. It's multi-channel, multi-product. You're not just playing one game in one way. You've got, but it all feeds the same engine, right? It's the same audience in different ways. And you launched a podcast, right? The Leadership Lab. Is that something that was pre-DeepRec, or is that something you launched at the same time as the business, and you're using it as a way of obviously opening doors with people? And
I was using that during my notice. I've backlogged I've 17 episodes up. I've about 17 episodes left to go out. You know how important it is to keep a pipeline going. So I made sure of that, but it's my first podcast where it's not a tech-focused podcast. What I mean by that is, yes, I'm interviewing deep tech leaders. I'm interviewing deep tech venture capitalists and founders. Like, that's the guest speakers, but they're not in there talking about the latest neural networks, like the latest diffusion models, whereas all my other podcast shows were. And honestly, I felt a bit ham. Like, I felt useless in these other podcasts. Yeah. But these guys are now leaders of businesses in the very same way. Like, we don't struggle how to manage or run a recruitment process. We get that. We understand that. It's our bread and butter. They get the same with technology. But now I'm speaking to people who have raised Series A, Series B, who have been through all these different processes on what's their growth strategy like, what's their communication frameworks, like, how do they show value externally, internally? How do they reflect that image out, like, of what you can bring to a business, like all the commercials. So I have the same problems of them. So selfishly, it's me asking.
Well, it's exactly the exact same thing about my show. Most of this is not about how to recruit someone, and we talk about bits and bobs. It's about running a business. It's about vision. It's about expansion. It's about MBOs. It's about trade-offs. It's the whole. And again, it's things I'm interested in. It's things I'm trying to do myself or my other clients are doing. I totally get it, and I imagine it's been a good asset, right? It's got you in the room with people that have turned into business.
Yeah, it has. It got me guest list invite to Slush D, which is like this exclusive event for venture capitalists and company founders. And I was just cutting about in this place where everyone is like an AI company founder or an AI VC. I was like, this is interesting. But it's definitely opening up a lot of doors and creating. If you say like the layer up of tier of networks, like who actually makes business decisions, who adds business value, that's who my relationship is with now. Whereas previously it'd be with, like, I don't know, the lead data scientist, where those guys aren't going to go in, break the door down at a HR's office and say, we have to work with Anthony Kelly. No, the CEO will do that.
Makes sense. Makes sense. In terms of your personal life, so we talked about it a bit offline. You've got like a 9.5-month-old baby. How are you? I'm 5 weeks today of the birth of my child, and working from home. I couldn't even imagine having to go to an office, if I'm honest, personally, right now. How have you managed that? Obviously, I think the early days you did have a bit more working from home, but you've had 4 or 5 months now when your baby's still in that first year of working long hours, I imagine, and getting in the office. So how are you coping?
Yeah, it's our office is 3 minutes, 2-minute drive, 18-minute walk.
Right.
I'm still there, first week of nursery this week. So although she was sent home sick, which caused a bit of a nightmare on our very first day, but half day Monday, Tuesday, full day. Get Ailey's mom to do some child minding on Wednesday, Thursday. I mean, that's it. That's our week done. Like, what more? I put the time in between like 6 to 8, so I don't feel pretty lousy about myself, right? And
in the morning or at night?
At night. I start my days earlier. Yeah, I start my days earlier. So I'm up at like 6 in the morning in the office for 7 or half 7. So I'm technically catching 8 a.m. in Germany, and I'm leaving at about 6 or half 6. Right. And then I'll try to do my best to be fun daddy when I get home for as long as I can. And then Saturdays and Sundays are great little days because you take this little tiny human and get them to lie in the bed with you while they just slap you in the face watching cartoons, and they think it's hilarious.
See, I'm thinking, what is 9 months like? How would you describe it? Because I'm only at 5 weeks. Like, she's just starting to like smile at me and show a bit of, but she's still just feeding constantly, and she's amazing, but she's not doing a lot, right? So what's 9 months like? Wanting to know that.
You don't get a lot back for about 3 or 4 months. She's crawling, starting to stand up by herself. So you'd be absolutely shiting yourself because the amount of time she just goes over on herself and takes a bang. So we have a playpen that is layered out with this super soft floor. We've got this the same super soft floor in the kitchen so that she doesn't fall in the kitchen. Trying to baby proof the house, but even at that, it doesn't matter. But it's definitely fun. Can't take your eye at them off her for a second. She's up the stairs. She can crawl up the stairs without walking, which I find nuts.
Yeah.
Making lots of sounds, but definitely a lot of fun.
Wow, mate. I've got 2 dogs to think about and 2 older kids as well. I haven't had the stepkids. So, yeah, we've got gates on the stairs already ready for the dogs and the baby. But the dogs are my biggest fear, like, because she'll be at the same height as them and she'll be, nodding them and prodding them and things like that. So we're going to be super careful about where they are and how we're going to manage that. But the way you've set yourself up, it sounds like you're so aware of both parts of your life, and you're not just going to be that guy who doesn't see his kids bath time because he's building a 2 million EBIT. You've done it on your doorstep to give both, to be able to do both. So
yeah. Well, that was all part of the trade-off, in the early agreement with Ash. That was why I had to be here. I don't think I could do it in London, is the honest truth. I just don't think I could. So now I can commit to that. I can commit to the development and time of everyone that comes into our office fairly, and I think that's as important as anything. If I was to do a business in London, if I was to say, I'm a co-founder here, I'm CEO, I just want to do Tuesdays and Thursdays, right? That's probably not going to get me to where I want to be. It's not going to build the culture that I'm looking for. And arguably, you're not going to achieve the targets that I've set, that we've set. But
you could do it by getting in early every morning, staying late every night, but you would miss out on the baby, and that's also as important to you, right? Which some dads just sacrifice it. Like the amount of people I've had on this show that missed the first 10, 15 years of their kids' lives at night, and they were there at the weekends, but I don't know. Some seem to regret it. Others don't. Others are like, it just was what I did. Like I did it for the sake of the business and the family and all the rest of it for the future. But personally, I couldn't do it. Like there's no way I could miss out on those nights.
I don't think I have to, As I said, with an early morning, Yes, I take the laptop home with me. I'm at home doing a source whale campaign, or sending out people's goals and objectives for the next day at 9 p.m. when she's in bed again. But I'm not missing the little bit of awake time every day I have with her. No way.
Yeah. And I think that is a really nice place to end this conversation. I think it's just, but it's the reality, the raw nature of being a young founder with a young family. And I think that's something that I can relate to, and so many others. Mate, thanks so much for your time. I know how busy you are. You've got so much going on. But you've pestered me, but it was worth it.
Appreciate it.
I really do wish you the best. I want you on again in let's say a year's time. Let's see if you're at that 16 to 18 heads in Q4 next year. Whatever happens, I'm confident you're going to be close or on the way. If anyone does want to reach out and find out more about you and now you've done what you've done, are you okay for them to drop you a note on LinkedIn? I'll tag you in everything that we do.
Yeah, absolutely. LinkedIn, email, WhatsApp. I'm pretty responsive on everything. If you wanted to join the DeepRec.ai social Discord, you'll catch me there. I'm everywhere.
Well, I'll tag you LinkedIn and you can take over from there. But Anthony, you're a star, mate, and we wish you all the best of luck.
Cheers, Sean.
Thank you as always for listening to today's show. I truly hope that you got value from it. Honestly, it's the only reason I take time every week to ensure that my audience, you guys, future and existing recruitment owners, you're learning from each other to make this industry that I love so much stronger. And today's episode is brought to you by my business, Hoxo. I'm the CEO and founder, and we're on a mission to help brand recruitment agencies and their people better. I want to help people have the tools to stand out in the most competitive markets in the world. We're currently working with over 350 recruitment agencies and 5,000 of their consultants right now, helping them to build their personal brands to consistently win more business, attract talent, and just become that go-to recruiter in the market. Now, we do have a huge coaching program, but a lot of people don't know we also manage the brands of a lot of founders, and we can do the rebrand of that company organizational piece as well. So if your recruitment agency either needs help to look and sound exactly how you want it to, or your leadership and consultant level need to get out there and drive more traffic back to that website, to the business, and start using LinkedIn to generate more revenue, then you should definitely be reaching out to us. If that sounds of interest, please do visit www.hoxomedia.com or drop me, Sean, a personal message on LinkedIn. I love hearing from RAG listeners. I would love to talk to you. Look forward to it. So I'll see you again next week with another episode. Catch you soon.